Unmuted.
Hello, my name is Isabella Perez, Recreation Leader for the City of Socorro. Thank you for joining today's meeting. Before the meeting begins, we would like to remind our guests to remove all hats and silence all electronic devices. No destructive behavior or outbursts will be tolerated, and violators are subject to ejection and possible prosecution.
Hola, mi nombre es Judy Rodríguez, secretaria de Planificación de la Ciudad de Socorro. Gracias por participar en la reunión de hoy. Antes de que comience la reunión, nos gustaría recordarles a nuestros invitados favor de quitarse los sombreros y silenciar todos los dispositivos electrónicos. No se tolerará ningún comportamiento perturbador ni exabrupto y los infractores estarán sujetos a expulsión y posible procesamiento.
It is 8:04 a.m. This meeting is called to order. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Item number 3, Establishment of Quorum.
Ruben Reyes.
Here.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Alejandro Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Ivy Avalos.
Here.
Rudy Cruz.
Present.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos. Here. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 4, Public Comment.
No speakers, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to presentations, item number 5, workshop and discussion and action on FY 2024 through 2025 budget for all City of Socorro departments, including revenue projections for fiscal year 2023 through 2024. Do we have motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. You do have some material in front of you. You have the tax rate and revenue analysis. You also have the general fund revenues with the changes that we're proposing today, and the combined expenditures for all departments. And then we have last year's budget attached. We'll be presenting on our 2024-2025 fiscal year budget. Our agenda will cover the tax analysis on our potential tax rate, will be for the upcoming fiscal year, a salary survey analysis by the HR director, and an essential list by department, and our financial snapshot of the impact to those changes. Next slide. Please note that these are preliminary numbers and may change before adopting next year's property tax rate. The city will receive the final numbers after July 25th. That's when the final numbers will be available. So if you look at the spreadsheet, you have the no change. That is our current tax rate, 0.702021. Then we have the no new revenue rate, which is 0.643101. This is a tax rate for fiscal year 2024-2025 tax year that will raise the same amount of property tax revenue for the city from the same properties of last fiscal year. Then we have the voter approval rate, which is 0.671271, which is the highest tax rate that the city may adopt without holding an election to seek voter approval of the rate. This is the rate we are proposing to adopt. The next slide is going to talk about the homeowner effects. If we adopt the voter approval rate, the impact to the homeowner on a $100,000 home value will see a decrease of $43.05. However, they will probably not see the decrease since their property values are increasing. Do you all have any questions?
Comment.
Mr. Reyes?
Thank you for presentation. It seems that everywhere we hear, all the taxes are going up. We've kind of kept our taxes lower. Usually they come down. How long will we be able to do this before we get in red numbers? Like, is there maybe, I don't know, I'm saying in 3-4 years, we're gonna have to stop doing the voter approval and actually take the tax to the voters?
At some point, you're going to be able, you can do that if you want to generate more revenue, yes.
But for it to be able to continue with all the operations for the city, do you see that in a couple of years?
Like forecasting, I would assume that because of the growth that we are experiencing, within the next 2 years, you probably would have to go into the voters unless you cut services
Okay,
or personnel.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay.
No questions.
The next 2 slides will be for Ms. Carol Candelaria. She did do a salary survey that she'll be speaking on.
Thank you, Ms. Uriarte. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Carol Candelaria here, HR Director. I'm here to present the salary analysis that we conducted for all positions. In the slide that you are seeing, which is posted up on the bulletin board, for this presentation, we'll be using the police department, particularly the police officer summary sheet, since this department and position will have the greatest impact. In my analysis, we compared approximately 8 entities: the City of El Paso, the County of El Paso, the Town of Horizon, the City of Las Cruces, Nacogdoches, and Socorro Independent School District. As you can see in the first column identified as the City of Socorro, the minimum rate of pay is $23.05 to a maximum of $30.17 in comparison to the overall average rate of $25.38 to $35.87, which is highlighted for you in green. Our recommendation is to increase the salary to a minimum of $25.60 after 1 year of experience to a maximum of $34.35. We feel this adjustment will bring the City of Socorro's Police Department to a better competitive position. Please note that these increases will only take place on the employee's anniversary date. Our next slide, please. Thank you. In the next slide, we are using the police officer's recommended salary scale. In this salary scale, it reflects the salary level of the first year's police officer to earn the $25.60, and every year thereafter eligible for a 2.5% increase on their anniversary date. With this recommendation, the salary scale, we believe, will keep us in the competitive range for the years to come. We are recommending a similar salary scale for all T-Code certified personnel. Do you have any questions at this time?
Mr. Cruz?
Ms. Candelaria, do you foresee us raising these rates and being more competitive amongst the other agencies surrounding us? Do you think this will help drive down overtime?
Ultimately, yes, sir. Your answer to your question is yes. It should drive down overtime, as the Chief of Police has done an incredible job in reducing the existing overtime that we've had in the past. Also, if you see in your scale, it takes it out to about 2028 to 2029 in our projections, that we believe by doing this every year that we have a competitive edge with our local municipalities.
Because I feel that a lot of overtime hours within this department are not due to special events or anything like that. It's seldom that we have a special event where overtime is required and needed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that the overtime that we're dishing out on this department here is due to maybe turnover rate or lack of sufficient staff. And I think based on the population right now, we're not necessarily meeting the requirements or needs of the people, but I think the ratio is it's 1 to 20,000 residents or something like that. I'm not too sure what the ratio is right now. So in order to make a safer environment and be more competitive and keep those officers here with Socorro, I want to say this is good. I don't want to use the term average. I want to say that we're where we need to be.
The projections that we have shown in this pay scale, sir, is that if you notice that the minimum average rate in the prior screen is showing a 25 to 38, we are proposing to give it a little bit higher increase so we can be more competitive and so we don't have turnover and we can retain our current officers. You're welcome, sir. Chief?
Allow the chief to kind of answer on the overtime, because he's done some changes in order to minimize that.
So Robert Rojas, Chief of Police, City of Socorro. So Mr. Cruz, I think we've done a fantastic job when it comes to the department overtime. That was one of the things that I wanted to address when I first came in, simply because of the amount that was being used. And it was not necessarily fiscally responsible in my eyes, in the way that it was used. You're absolutely correct that we used overtime many times for the special events, and those are unforeseen events and also unforeseen emergencies, late calls, and late emergencies that carry over. But other than that, I think the sergeants and the lieutenants have done a fantastic job driving it down, requiring certain explanations, requiring the officers to make sure that we're not just out there working the overtime, not being fiscally responsible. So we've made some changes, and I think this last month, I think when it came to the amount of hours that were not related to special events, I think for the month it was 29 hours for the entire department. So those are late calls, and we're even looking at why that happened. Every month when I get my monthly report, I go back and I ask the supervisors, all right, what is the reason that we can, what is it that we can do better? And some of them happen to be that I don't have enough officers to be able to send to training and then offset. It happened, I worked a late shift about 3 weeks ago, and it just so happened I worked on one of those shifts where we had sent officers to training, and I was out there taking calls to help out. So we absolutely need something like this to remain competitive, so that we can draw those officers maybe from other agencies and also retain our officers that we have. Because we have a fantastic group of officers, and I think they're doing a great job. I think they've bought in to the vision and to what we're doing. So I think the accountability is going a long way when it comes to the overtime, and it only helps us be able to do something like this.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Garcia?
So I'm looking at the difference between us and Horizon, and it's $323.72 from our projected to now. Do we know how much that would be to match that?
I've not done the figures, but I can do them real quick.
I'm looking at Horizon pays $53,123.20 with our new rate that we're trying to get for our police officers. It becomes $52,799.48.
Right, so if you look at it, it's 2554.
Right.
Coming in at 2550. That's our starting range.
We're proposing a 2560, which is a little bit higher than, yes, ma'am, 2560, which is a little bit higher than the town of Horizon. Yeah.
But if you look at the other slide, sir,
Okay.
we are actually projecting to pay our officers
60 to start.
560. Is that in the green?
No, it's on the other page.
It's on your police officer
Oh,
scale?
okay. I'm sorry. Okay. 2560. Okay, found it. Thank you. That's all I need. Sorry.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Villalobos?
So I was looking at the operating budget. That's how much, it's projected, or that's how much we're actually spending, the 33 million? Is it in 1 year, 5 years?
I'm sorry, what is it that you're looking at?
The operating budget, or, yes? On- Just under, just above, population.
You're looking at this,
Yes.
that's right here in front
Yes,
of you?
okay.
So What that is that that's the population in the census for each of those municipalities or tax entities. And then you have your operating budgets that those entities utilize for their operating budgets. So if you look at the, let's use the town of Horizon, and I'll need to get a little closer to the screen so I can see it. So the town of Horizon, you'll see that their population is 23,314, and their operating budget is 15 million. So that's what they're looking in projection for their salaries. So that's how all of those analyses are showing. Each entity has a population, and then I put their operating budget that they utilize.
Okay, but that's not our current, that's the future. And it's,
What those are their operating budgets. If you look at the city of Socorro, that's what our current operating budget was and our census in the past.
oh, okay.
Okay?
So it is passed,
Yes.
okay.
Did I answer your question,
Yeah, I
Ms.
just
Colon?
don't know
Okay.
where we got 33 million from. Is it in
It's
20?
the overall budget,
It's a-
right, with the ARPA funds, with all of
Ah.
the grants, with all of that. It's the
Okay.
overall budget that we are, right, that's what's posted in our website for our budget last year. It's not our operating budget, it's the complete picture of
Okay.
our budget.
And that was in a 12-month period or 2 years?
Correct, so when we did the analysis, it's what's currently, so this year, it's last year's fiscal budget that we're using for every entity.
Okay, all right, thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other positions, scales that you would like to see, or any other summary sheets you all would like to see at this time? Yes, sir.
Mr. Cruz?
Ms. Carroll, which department draws more of the overtime pay right now currently? And
Which-
I know we're on the topic of the police department, but you opened it up for.
So
Is it you guys, chief?
it's the police department,
Oh,
sir.
okay. No, I'm just wondering.
I would have to assume that it's
Yeah.
ours because we're one of the largest departments.
Yeah.
But again, we're trying to be as responsible as possible because overtime, there's really one reason that we should have it, and it should never be to use the overtime to cover positions that we can't fill, right? They should be for emergency cases, they should be for late calls, they should be for call-outs, things like that. And we absolutely don't want to use that overtime where we're paying for now 3.5 officers instead of just paying for 2.
And I know I sound like a broken record, but I'll tell you what, Socorro should have raised taxes a while back, but what's happening is that we're trying to keep our people good, financially, but everybody else around us keeps raising taxes before we do, and we don't have any money for infrastructure and street repairs and stuff like that because we're a growing city. That's why I feel that we need to slow down on the residential side and let the commercial come in so that we can start building a stronger, healthier tax base. And then we can start growing as a population and let our infrastructure catch up to the population. With the population that we have right now, our police department's barely playing catch up with what we have right now. So, yeah, in about 2 years, we're gonna see a tax increase that has to happen. It's gonna have to happen, or we bring in more commercial. That's the only way this community is gonna generate revenue ultimately, honestly, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other positions at this time anybody would like to see before I move on? Thank you. As Ms. Urarte continues with her presentation, she will identify which other departments and positions that are going to be impacted, that are being impacted. Thank you, and I will turn the podium back over to Ms. Urarte at this time.
The next couple of slides, we're going to go over the essential list that the departments are requesting in order to continue offering services for our next fiscal year. Let me get there. So we have the city manager, And the essential list, we also have the recommendation for all entire staff. We are recommending a cost of living increase of 3.2%. If you were to approve that, the impact, the amount of that impact is $206,377.60. There will be no increase this year on our health benefits. The salary adjustment for positions within the city manager department, specifically impacting the fleet mechanic and shop technician roles. The adjustment amount is about $4,430. Adjustments will be made as part of their annual performance review, and this is based on the salary analysis that was conducted. So every department, I will let you know whether there's going to be an adjustment or not an adjustment, and the positions that it's affecting or impacting. We are also requesting to add a full-time custodian for our ambulance buildings, which now covers Puna and Vineyard, and to provide coverage from when other custodians do go on vacation, this person can step in and cover those positions. That impact would be in the amount of $45,250, which includes fringe benefits. I'm also asking to increase my service contracts for the sidewalk Phase 3 of $600,000. The total impact for the department would be $649,480 with 40 cents. Now we're moving on to the IT department, and if you have any questions before we move on, please let me know and we can answer questions. So moving on to the IT department, a salary adjustment for position within the IT department, specifically impacting the director. That adjustment amount is about $4,430. We are also requesting to add an IT technician position. The impact is $48,026 with 0 cents, and that includes fringe benefits. We're also trying to get the vehicle routers for PD, and that amount is about $30,000. That department is requesting the amount of $82,456 with 40 cents. Our Parks and Public Works Department. A salary adjustment for positions within the Parks and Public Works Department is specifically impacting the equipment operator roles. That adjustment amount is about $5,595 with 54 cents. We're also requesting to purchase an 18-wheeler cab in the amount of $50,000 and to purchase one truck to add to our fleet in the amount of $50,000. That total impact amount is about $105,595 with 54 cents.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cruz?
On that 18-wheeler cab, we're buying new or used?
So, used.
That's what I
Yes.
figured. Have we gone out to see what new looks like? Because
So we've gone out to the market. The thing is for the amount that we use it, so we use it to transport our dump trucks, our paving machine. We believe that a used vehicle would benefit us.
suffice because of the amount of time that it's just parked
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. We've had our cab for a while, the one that we've had, for years, like even before our time.
1983.
When we established, but, it's done a great job, but it's giving up. So
All right.
we believe that suffices.
Okay.
And moving on to our police department. A salary adjustment for positions within the police department, specifically impacting police officers, detectives, sergeants, lieutenants, and communication dispatcher roles. That adjustment would add up to $316,000, $316 with $14 with 40 cents. We're also requesting that the corporal position to sergeant position be changed, right, from corporal to sergeant, and that doesn't require a salary range change at this time, right, because our current corporal has not been with us for a year as a corporal. So it wouldn't happen till his anniversary date. Questions?
Mr. Cruz?
So in the other documents that were shown to council earlier, with the increased hourly rates, these positions weren't included in there? These are
Yes, so
completely separate, or?
Every position has its own salary scale.
Okay.
right? And we can go through those positions. That's why she inquired, is there anything else that you want to do? Because every position got viewed and seen whether the salary range needed to be adjusted or we were within range.
But these adjustments right here are for seasoned officers, it seems, because of their rank. Have they gone through an evaluation and have they, is that something that the chief of police deems
Yes.
necessary for upon?
So the adjustment will happen at their performance evaluation.
Okay, all right.
Right, so that adjustment won't happen October 1st,
Yeah,
everyone,
like we're not
free
just
for
giving
all.
raises like, hey,
Free for all, no.
congratulations, here.
It'll happen at the performance
Okay.
review.
Thanks.
We are moving on to the municipal courts. The Socorro Municipal Court has no salary adjustments as pay scales are within range. We are trying to add a software of AdComp system to receive online payments. That yearly amount is $3,600. We are also wanting to install waterproof windows in the amount of $8,000. And our judge contract increase is, we're recommending a $20,000 increase. That total impact for that department is $31,600. The judge contract hasn't been updated since when I started in 2013. Due to the cost of living, the judge that we have now works 2 days out of the week and comes whenever he is needed. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this position also one that was been, did you run an analysis on this one also? As to what court judges get paid?
No, this is a contract position, so she didn't look into a analysis, but we can definitely do that in order to
Yeah,
provide
but
you more information.
ultimately, contracts are based upon the services provided, and so they're providing the judge service in 2 days out of the week, in addition to whatever days he's called in, right? Depending on how large the docket is.
Yes.
Is that something that's been considered?
So the city is growing, and we do see code enforcement, more police action, so the numbers have increased within the municipal courts, just because of the growth that we have seen.
Okay.
Ms. Villalobos?
Can you just remind us what the judge's salary is right now?
40,000,
40, so it would increase to 60.
60,000.
Annual contract.
Yes, sir.
Use them and abuse them.
So that contract is up for renewal in September. However, we had a conversation, that's pretty much what he's pitching. It doesn't mean that that's what we need to give him, but that will come in before our next fiscal year, right?
Yeah,
The
you-
renewal of the contract.
I guess I was just trying to understand how that amount's calculated. Like, is it based off of the hours that he's working, or is it based off of?
No, it's a contract position,
Right.
yeah, so it's a set amount.
I'll make him come in 5 days a week.
At 5 in the morning?
Right, let him be a full-time job.
5 to 5.
5 to 5.
Any other questions? No? And then we have the Planning and Zoning Department. There's a salary adjustment for the position within the PNC department, specifically impacting the director role. The adjustment amount is about $15,000. We're also requesting to add a planner in the amount of $80,991, which includes fringe benefits. The total impact for that department is $95,991. Are there any questions?
Got a question.
Mr. Reyes?
What would the planner, what's the description, job description for the planner?
So Lorraine can kind of answer that a little bit more.
Sure. They help with customers who have questions and walk them through the process, all of the different services that we provide in the planning department, zoning questions, rezonings, subdivisions, replats, and assist with the clerks at the front.
Yeah, so they do the review of the subdivision plats, making sure that they go to the engineering firm, making sure when they come back that the comments are actually updated. So right now we have one planner, and we just have a bunch of workload. right? And I know that some of you have received calls regarding why is it taking so long? And the reason is we really don't want anything going through the cracks, but that's when when we're short-staffed, that's a potential liability, right? That there's something that we miss because we don't have all the hands on board that we need.
Mr. Cruz?
I think that it's pretty obvious because in the presentations at our meetings, I'm looking at dates from when these applications are filed. And then I'm looking at dates of when we're approving them. And I know that we're 2 weeks out from every meeting. But at the same time, like we gotta do the people right also. Cause a lot of times they're waiting on us. They're waiting on our departments and there's a lot of work that we're giving them on the table. And then all the stuff that's walking through that door over there. And right now, it's only Ms. Quimito and Mr. Boteo, right? And then the staff up front. But those girls are they're probably doing work beyond their scope right now because they've had to try to help you guys catch up in that department.
So that's what we're trying to get them to. So Mr. Perez has moved into that department because we believe that the planning clerks can also assist in doing. Right now, it feels like they're data entry clerks. We need to make sure that we put them into the category of being able to assist, sending those emails, and then after that email, after the quotes come in, then going to Boteo and the planners.
So now, and also I wanted to touch base on that also. I think that Socorro needs to start investing in their staff. I'd like to see some of the lower level positions like trained in-house so that we can move them into a position. You know, if we gotta send them off to training and help them get that education that they need or that's essential for that position, I think that investing in our people here also needs to be part of our plan for growth because it costs a lot of money to bring somebody in new and hire them and go through the whole process and train them and stuff like that. Our people are already trained and they're set up and they know the process. Now we can better it through promoting from within. I think that's an excellent system. If y'all can make it happen.
Yes, and we do have several departments that do send their staff to training throughout the year. But that's definitely something that we can look at.
Thanks.
Ms. Villalobos?
This position would be not new to us, but a new position to whoever is hired. And this person comes with experience, a diploma, some kind of certificate?
Correct. So once this is approved, we will bring the job description because we are planning on amending all of our job descriptions for your approval, so you're able to see what the starting salary to the end, I guess the range between salaries for those positions.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? So we're moving on to our health contract changes. We have interlocal agreements with the health services, Victor Services, and animal sheltering services. The total impact amount is $440,000, $338. So they've gone through some changes. They're now charging you by population, not by individual service. That line item in our current budget, we do allocate $600,000 for that line item. So we are not increasing that amount, but this is the total impact for those 3 interlocal agreements that we have. Do you all have any questions?
I'm sorry.
Ms. Villalobos?
Health services, who are they? I'm sorry.
It's the health department for the
Here
city.
locally?
No, City of El Paso.
Ah,
So we have
okay.
an interlocal agreement with City of El Paso. All these are City of El Paso interlocal
Right.
agreements for these services.
Okay, and these are, like, it's a must that we,
You need to have a health
Yeah.
department within your city.
okay,
Just like when COVID hit, it helped us that we had the health department that we could benefit off of
right.
to make sure that they handle all of that. They're the ones that kind of work with us to bring vaccines, things of that nature, do the health inspections throughout the city.
Okay.
Is anything changing with the animal sheltering? Besides, on this amount, I don't know if you said that already.
No, so the change was just in the way that they calculated their numbers. The sheltering hasn't changed. They're pretty limited in the animals that they can accept. So that's a challenge that we are trying to mitigate by either joining El Paso County. I mean, there's options that we can have, but right now, they are the ones that are providing our sheltering service, and that's kind of the cost that they're coming in with for next fiscal year.
Okay, so nothing is changing?
No.
No, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No.
No other questions on this one.
Moving on to the Grants and Special Projects Department, a salary adjustment for positions within the Grants and Special Projects Department specifically impacting the director role. That adjustment amount is about $4,056. We're also requesting to amend the job description from Program Officer Compliance to Grants Compliance Officer, and that's an increase of $20,000. We're also wanting to create an in-house position for the Economic Recovery Coordinator in the amount of $46,090.67, since ARPA pays until December of 2024 for that position. We're also asking for a software, the Startup Business Hub, Shop Local Directory, in the amount of $7,500. That total impact for that department is $77,652.67. Do you all have any questions?
Got a comment.
Mr. Reyes?
I've gone a couple of times to the economic development meetings, and everybody expresses their gratitude, the need to have the coordinator. And a lot of them, I'm pretty sure they come to council and to Ms. Rodarte, that they want to keep that position. So I think it's great, a great position to open up, and it's very helpful for the city of Socorro.
Agree.
Agreed.
I completely agree.
Definitely agree.
Okay. And then we have moving on to the HR department, there's no salary adjustment as pay scales are within range. No additional changes to that department is being requested at this time. Then we move on to the city clerk department. Also has no salary adjustment as pay scales are within range. We do have the election costs for this year in the amount of $90,000. So the election will be about close to 55,000. However, we are preparing to have a runoff election. So that's why you see the $90,000 that we're requesting to add to our budget.
Wow, to me, it's extremely expensive.
Correct.
I just don't see what we get for that amount, you know.
Yes. So it's staff, everything that's done to prepare for the election is kind of what you're paying for, right? Staff hours from the county for all the workers that come out, the machines, transferring the machines, the voting machines, setting them up in different areas. So that's pretty much what they're charging you.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you need an election.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to the finance departments. There's a salary adjustment for positions within the finance department, specifically impacting the director's role. That adjustment amount is about $10,000, and we will bring the position to amend. We also want to add a finance technician position in the amount of $52,567, which includes fringe benefits. We are also asking to stay with the service contract to the CPA firm in the amount of $7,000 for the year. And that's just until we find the finance director and they can wing us off, and we feel pretty comfortable that we're able to continue providing the best services and the best finance services to the citizens of Socorro. The total impact for that department is about $132,567. Any questions?
What are the fringe benefits on that position, the technician position?
So the fringe benefits are across the board for all employees, which is your health, dental, vision, your FICA, your SURA, all of those. So now we're gonna move on to the Recreations Department. We're trying to rebrand this department just because they don't just do recreations, right? They assist throughout the whole city, the community, so we're trying to rebrand it and maybe name it to Community Outreach Department. I don't know what your thoughts are. I know that we had also talked about, what was it, Victor, Public Affairs Department? But that's something that we're wanting to do, and also changing the job description from recreation leaders to community liaisons, and then the recreation coordinator to community liaison coordinator. I don't know what your thoughts are about that. We're good?
They sound very professional. Yeah, very
Yeah.
professional.
So no adjustments are needed in the pay scales because they are within range. We talked about the job descriptions. We also want to increase our service contracts by $20,000, the support activities by $9,000, and the events in the amount of $20,000. We're also increasing the seminars and trainings to $6,000. The total impact amount for that department is $55,000. And the increases are just in the services that we're providing, right? So what we're budgeting for is always being amended because we are adding either events, we do support activities, things of that nature that I believe needs to be increased.
When would the rebranding take place?
At the beginning of the fiscal year.
Okay. And,
Do you have a preference for what you want to call that department?
no, I like that community
Outreach?
department because they do a lot for the community. So
Yes.
I like that personally. The community liaisons, I think that's really great. So I like that as well. And, that term, they do a
Yes.
lot. So I like that. Mr. Garcia?
For me, I would hate to lose the recreation part of it.
You're
But
not
that's-
losing it.
No, but it would be the community outreach department.
Correct.
Where the recreation wouldn't be in the title.
No.
That's my only issue, but I will leave that to the professionals. But that's just me.
I second what Mr. Garcia has to say. I really like or maybe because we're so used to seeing, hearing, reading, recreations.
Well, and that's why you go through a rebranding, right? You
Right.
have to educate the public, and we would go through an advertising of marketing tools in order for us to rebrand it to that. I just feel that recreations is very limited, and we do so much more.
That's true, but for me, it would be recreation/outreach community department. Would that something?
It's your decision, yeah.
Ms. Villalobos?
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar to that. But I agree also, yeah, recreation, that's all people can think about, fun events at the recreation center or at the recreation center. Community outreach means anything under that umbrella. So maybe you guys can come up with something that we can all be happy about, or, but
The chief is pitching community outreach recreations.
Yeah.
What does Victor like?
What does Victor want?
I'm glad you asked.
Do not open that door, please.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Is my microphone on? So what we're trying to do is create an umbrella term to capture all of the events that we do at recreation. Part of the rebrand is to notify the public of our core competencies, which we wouldn't lose recreation. We would just notify the public that our department also serves for the city communication department, the special events department, historic preservation. We work on legislative affairs, and most currently transportation. So we kind of want to notify the public that we are the hub for those services and kind of create more traffic to our department to be able to serve those clients and those community members. Part of that also includes the employees and the work that they do. It's a little odd sometimes when we get questioned why the recreation leaders are at the legislative affairs meeting.
Yes, no? Any other questions?
I have another thought, another
Okay.
question. It's more of a thought. How would that rebranding change our grants and economic development when they say, okay, we service the public? How would that impact that?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding your question.
How would the rebranding impact the
Grants Department?
grants department when they say, well, we also help the community in, we have, say, these certain classes that they offer, so we're offering, community service, basically.
Correct, and
Would we change that as well, or is that just gonna stay like that, or?
well, it's under the same umbrella,
Okay.
right? Because this is kind of what they do on a day-to-day, right? They provide community outreach to the entire, right? You're kind of outreaching to the community on a day-to-day basis.
So it would all be under, just everything would be rebranded
For the Recreations Department.
for the
Yeah.
recreations?
And if I can add, so we assist the grants department and specifically economic development with like their marketing tools, helping them with any media. So that's kind of what the thought was in the rebrand of my department, was that way all the employees kind of have an overarching term, so that way they can assist, but it wouldn't detract from any other department. We would still support not only grants, but also planning and zoning, PD, IT, we do tech support, our commissions. So that was the whole intent of assisting in the clarity of the role of the employee.
Oh, I see,
Mhm.
okay. Any other, Mr. Cruz?
Touching on the topic of recreations and community outreach, I feel that, and this is government at all levels, local, state, and federal, I feel that we tend to cater more to those who are on social media, technology, tech-savvy people. What are we gonna do about our elderly folk? Because they also need help. They need a lot of the assistance that we provide, but it's very difficult and it's very costly when we gotta send something through mail or what can we do to better those efforts?
So in working with our Veterans Affairs, we also realized that a published newsletter could be a great benefit. So that's something that we're gonna start rolling out, not only for Veterans Affairs, but also for the entire community. And we can have those posted not only in our department, but also at high traffic areas, but also really creating strategic partnerships with some of the community organizations that are already out there. We already have some with some of our faith-based, but working with the new ones that have created like adult daycares, AAA, other services to really market what the city does, and specifically attending public meetings to promote our services. We had the Arterial 1 meeting this week, and I took advantage by talking to our senior citizens and inviting them to come to our event. So really creating a market outreach that not only support economic development, but also civic participation in all the events that we have at the center.
Yeah,
Yes, I
'cause-
saw him recruiting.
Yeah.
Recruiting viejitos.
Yeah, no, and that's what we need, right? Ultimately, because once you reach a certain age, it's hard to get a hold of our seniors. But how do we do it? Because we don't have a budget large enough to send out mailers and flyers and whatnot to each mailbox. We need the younger generations to also help us with that. Bring talk to the elderly. And do they still read the newspaper? I'm sure they do. Do they watch Canal 44? I don't know what they're watching nowadays. I don't.
Canal 44.
Or yeah, right.
Telemundo.
Telemundo and all that. Canal
I can bring
26.
Aldo, and I
Las
feel like if I
novelas.
bring Aldo will recruit the seniors.
There you go.
Yeah.
One of the things that we'll also do is we can work within our budget for advertising to take out space in some of the advertising that's done throughout the city. So for example, we can bring to you an advertising proposal to work not only with Socorro High School's programs, but also some of the church bulletins, and then also look at some of the other things that have been going on through the city. Maybe we can even partner on doing an ad in Speaking Rock. I don't know if we know anybody at Speaking Rock, but showing an ad while they're playing bingo, that we have bingo.
Because we do know a lot of them visit Speaking Rock. Every first of the month.
Yeah, we appreciate all patrons. Yeah.
And not only that, but I did reference Mr. Darte this last time that the Legislative Affairs team came back, is putting up announcements at our airport, for example, That's a really great way to welcome people to our city as well, because that's also our airport. So looking at strategic partnerships like that is something that's on our agenda for the next fiscal year.
Ms. Villalobos?
See, all that is great, but again, I'm pushing my billboards. Those things are magic. Those things are seen by everybody. Those things would be less cost-effective instead of having our individual flyers and, whatnot, because those get thrown away. I mean, I throw them away, I might read them and throw them away, but billboards are there, and that's why I keep pushing for this. Billboards. I know that you guys have tried and you went out, but we must have some kind of availability to put them on our own, be our own for now, until we can get partners. I would think 4 in the city would suffice, and there's so much that we can advertise, so much.
Agreed.
And educate our public. I believe that's key to educating our public. With all this, look at what happened, I just read the, that arterial, or that highway that they're trying, they're blaming the city of Socorro, that kind of thing. That would help bring in the citizens to let them know, no, it's not, they think the city of Socorro has voted. The reason I tell you this is because the other day we had the owner of Mi Mercadito here by mistake. He was here by mistake. They thought we were going to talk about that highway thing, and they had already told him that it was going right through his property. So luckily that night I went and bought aguacates, and he was there, and I talked to him. And he said he was all scared because they told him they were going to take all of his front.
Which is not, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of misinformation
Right,
out there.
exactly.
And that's why we're doing these public meetings, to make sure, we had a lot of senior citizens even crying that they can't sleep at night. And you ask them, well, where you live? They point it out, and it's nowhere close to where the arterial is. It's just misinformation that's
Right.
Being communicated to them,
And
unfortunately.
And that's where I'm headed with all this. I think we could save a lot of headaches, time, if we had those billboards. And I don't think we have a budget for it yet, because we don't have a clear vision of
What that's
what's-
gonna look like.
right, or where we can put them, or how, and et cetera. But I think we should really look into that. I mean, really make it happen.
Agreed.
Yeah.
No other questions? So now we're moving on to the ambulance department. We're asking to add $1,000 to the building and property maintenance, and just to make sure that we continue with the maintenance in that department. And also the utilities, since we're now using Puna Station, an increase of $5,000. So the total impact is about $6,000 to that line item. Do you all have any questions?
I just have one.
Mr. Cruz?
Is there any major repairs that are needed aside from just property maintenance and utilities?
No, I think all of the property improvements that we did through our capital, pretty much the working gate, we updated the building, the remodeling. Mr. Julio did all of the remodeling. It's just kind of keeping up.
Okay.
So now
Any-
comes the good stuff. All right?
Do we have that in front of us here, or?
Yes, sir. So it's right here.
Okay. First page. Tax rate and review. Okay.
So, if the city adopts the voter approval rate, the city is projected to receive $10,010,162 in maintenance and operations. $5,120,355 in other revenues. So the total projected revenues for the year is $15,130,512. Yes, any questions? Okay. We are expecting to spend with all the proposed changes, an amount of $16,960,155. So the projected reserves that are required to meet these expenditures is $1,820,633.00. Last year's projected reserves was 1.6. We normally never use what we say we project that we're gonna use, but that is our impact. To the budget, yes, sir.
Mr. Cruz?
The projected reserve amount is what percent of our overall budget, or where should it be?
So if you can pull up the reserve,
Because that's calculated, there's a formula for that, but I don't know what, like, are we exceeding that percent? Are we meeting the requirements?
no, yes, so
Okay.
we're definitely only tapping in to what we can spend.
And I know that we were also waiting on some
says reserved.
reimbursements also, that were gonna help increase that, the reserve.
I'm sorry?
The reimbursements that we were waiting on?
Correct, so that's from TechStat, but that's coming through capital. So it's a
Okay,
different
okay,
bucket of
okay.
money.
All right,
Okay.
okay.
Did you find it? Yes. No, not that one. Just give me a second. Can you like zoom it in a little bit? Just to the little box. Okay. I don't know if you can see. Más. Because más, menos. Menos. A little bit more if you can. Right, so if you can see current year's net change in fund balance, expenditures in excess of revenue. So right now we have about $4.8 million there. We have to have 16.67% of reserves to be able to run our city if no money is coming in, right? We're not receiving property taxes, we're not receiving anything. We are required to reserve the $2.5 million. Then we have also reserved the $1,662,802 that we projected to spend last year. Then we also have allocated funding for the Arterial 1 project of what our match is going to be for that project. Then we also have the Safe Routes to School, which is that has been allocated for years. However, we're in the beginning of the fiscal year, we are going to go back to council to see if we can dissolve and be able to use those $245,000 to assist with the $600,000 phase 3 sidewalks, right? But right now, we have unrestricted general fund of $2.9 million, estimated amount. Right, so we are tapping into something that we are not restricted from. Do you all have any questions? This report is given to council through consent agenda every month to kind of let you know where we are in our reserves.
And it's online too. It's also online.
Yes. Okay. And that pretty much concludes my presentation, right? In the other sheets that you received for the combined general expenditures and also the general fund revenues, pretty much tells you what we're anticipating to receive this fiscal year with these numbers, right? Also remember that these are preliminary numbers. The numbers might change once the El Paso sends me the correct amounts. And the reason for that is people are still contesting the values of their homes. So that's why that might change. But you can see in the general fund revenues in the bottom in orange, you see the $1.8 million that we're saying we are going to dip in if you all approve all of the changes that were proposed today. And that's where we need direction is, do you want to approve all of them? Do you want us to cut some of them? But that is the impact with all the proposed changes. And then you have last year's budget for reference.
Any questions, comments? To what you mentioned about the safe routes to schools, to dissolve that and add it to the 600, will we be able to do that this year?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It would have to be under this.
Well, I wouldn't be able to reflect it in the budget because it has to come through a resolution,
Okay.
right? So right
So
now
we-
I'm presenting real numbers. And right now they're still allocated.
Okay.
Mayor,
Ms. Villalobos?
I don't know if this falls into play, but I think it does because we have to budget if we decide to go that route. How about increasing councilmen's salaries? Would that be too late for now if we wanted to bring an item to the table?
To increase council members'
Uh-huh.
salary, that has to go through a charter amendment.
Okay. so
And the
that's-
charter amendment was actually proposed in the last amendment, and the voters declined the raises.
Right. So it would be every 10 years?
No, I think you have to wait 4 years before you can do another charter amendment.
So it's going to be 4 years?
Correct. However, if you wanted to do a charter amendment, we should have started a long time ago, just because the propositions are not easy to create. But maybe next year, in the next election, you might want to consider that, taking it back to the voters.
All righty.
Any other questions or comments before we vote?
I have a comment. So next Saturday, we have another budget meeting. Do you still want to meet and provide the same information? So there's 2 budget workshops that we schedule in case we're not able to get all of the information in the first meeting. Then you kind of finalize the second meeting. We did cancel our, during July, I think it was July 6th, that we had our budget workshop. So now we have one today, and then we have one next Saturday.
I think the only one missing is Mr. Nevares, so, I mean, we can catch him up on that.
Correct, so I've already scheduled with him where we're gonna sit on a one-on-one to kind of go over all of the budget items. Yeah,
So I don't believe we need to have another meeting.
We don't. I don't
it's up to
believe
you
so.
all, unless you feel that, is there any changes that you want me to add? If not, I can finalize kind of the budget so we can present it when we start adopting it. Remember, we have to have 2 public hearings, we still have to post our tax rate, things
I-
of that nature.
I think we can move, if we need to, we can move it or do a special.
If we needed to, but I think we're done here.
Correct, or you can address any concerns or issues during the public meetings when we bring them to council. During that time, you still have an opportunity to change, or if you have a change of heart, mind.
So at this point, what we're agreeing is to cancel next Saturday, or it has not been posted yet?
No, it hasn't been posted.
Uh-huh.
However, we have advertised that we're having a budget meeting, so we would have to post that it's canceling. But this information is up online. If anybody wishes to see it, they can YouTube it.
Yeah,
It's broadcasted.
I just don't see any changes. Do you?
No.
I don't see anyone changing anything, so I believe we don't need another meeting, except for the fact if you wanted to give Mr. Nevares the chance to go over the information. Excuse me. But he will have a chance to do that with Mr. Rodarte. Anyone else have any thoughts on this?
And before you vote, I just wanted to kind of show you, can you go back to the tax analysis? Which is this one. Just kind of touching on what Mr. Reyes was asking. So let's just say that this year, we wanted to stay with the same tax rate and not decrease our tax rate, right? But we would have to go out to voters to do that. It shows you that in the very bottom, you're already generating and not dipping into your reserves because there's a zero number there. Pa más bajo. No, the middle part? Right? So you have the no change is the first column. You have the no new revenue rate, and then you have your voter approval rate. If you would stay with the no change, you wouldn't be dipping into, well, you would be dipping, but only $288,000. Does that make sense?
But what got us to this point here?
The tax rate, right? So the SB2, when it came in 2019, because of the growth that we're experiencing, it's not allowing you to grow with your city, right? When that came in, I think we were at 72 or 76 cents, right? If we would have stayed at the same level without increasing or anything, we would be making a lot more revenue. Because right now, from 76, we're at 70 cents, and now we're going to 67 cents. That is probably something that we also can go through the legislation and see if there's language that we can add to that bill that better fits our needs, because I'm sure we're not the only ones experiencing that. However, we do have a lot of potential to grow, and it's not stopping.
That and also, there's a certain amount of time that utility providers need to post any types of bonds, and so they try to sneak it in last minute, and if we can do a better job as a community and even us as leaders of tracking those so that we can educate the people before they go out there and they vote, because that also increases their taxes, and ultimately a lot of people think it's us until I bust out the sheet and I show them, hey, look at your school district, what they're charging us, look at what these folks are charging all these other entities. And then they kind of sit back in their seat, and we've adopted the no new revenue tax rate for so many years. That doesn't allow us to generate enough revenues to make the improvements that people want to see, and we're having to dip into their tax dollars, where we can see other improvements or more buildings going up, we're having to just maintain.
Yeah.
And that's where we've been at for the past few years here in Socorro. But
So do we have a motion? So we want to approve the budget with all of the proposed changes?
a motion to approve the budget with all the.
We do have a motion.
We have
All
a
right.
motion. We just need to vote.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz?
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos?
Yes.
Do we need a motion to cancel the meeting next week?
No, because we're not posted for that.
Okay.
Moving on to consent agenda, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Second.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to delete items 7, 8, and 9?
Motion to delete items 7, 8, and 9.
Second.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes. I second the motion.
Yes, please.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares is absent. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Meeting adjourns at 9:13 a.m.
Miss Carroll. Miss Carroll. Don't leave, Miss Carroll.